On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Whole bunch of Q posts have come out, so we're going to get right into those. But one thing I wanted to bring up that the debate just really, to me, hit home is I know that the left right now, or the deep state specifically, keeps pointing at Trump and saying he's a liar, he's a liar, he's a liar. What's really interesting right now is how many lies that they're trying to perpetuate on the left, how many different lies they're trying to tell, how they're trying to rewrite history, how they're trying to change just absolute facts, how they're trying to deny things that they're already record saying, and then they say they never said it. It is amazing how much of that happens from the deep state, and they never get called on it except by the lying Trump and the lying Pence, but everyone else is allowed to lie. It's just baffling to me, and it really, in my mind, proves how deep the deep state goes, how nasty this swamp really is. All right, 4824 is where we left off. We've got a great little thing here from Trump. Again, it's long. If you want to jump ahead, it's like 4 or 5 minutes long. I think it's certainly worth it. It's an awesome message from the president. Hop ahead if you don't want to hear it all, if you've already heard it. But this is certainly good stuff and worth a listen. Let's check it out.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president. And I'm standing in front of the Oval Office at the White House, which is always an exciting place to be. I got back a day ago from Walter Reed Medical Center. I spent 4 days there and didn't have to. I could have stayed at the White House, but the doctor said, because you're president, let's do it. I said, fine. You tell me what to do, and I'm going to listen. These are great professionals. They've done a fantastic job. And by the way, not only at Walter Reed, all over the country, we have the greatest doctors in the world. We have the greatest nurses, the greatest first responders, law enforcement, by the way, incredible. Firefighters, everybody, they're just great. We have great people. This is a great country. But I spent 4 days there, and I went in, I wasn't feeling so hot, and within a very short period of time, they gave me Regeneron. It's called Regeneron, and other things too, but I think this was the key. But they gave me Regeneron, and it was like unbelievable. I felt good immediately. I felt as good 3 days ago as I do now. So I just want to say we have Regeneron, we have a very similar drug from Eli Lilly, and they're coming out, and we're trying to get them on an emergency basis. We've authorized it, I've authorized it, and if you're in the hospital and you're feeling really bad, I think we're going to work it so that you get them and you're going to get them free, and especially if you're a senior, we're going to get you in there quick. We have hundreds of thousands of doses that are just about ready. I have emergency use authorization all set, and we got to get it signed now, and you're going to get better. You're going to get better really fast. This is things that nobody even thought of a few months ago. The job that the scientists, the labs, everybody have done is incredible. Then in addition to that, you have various other drugs that help a lot, but these, I view these, I know they call them therapeutic, but to me it wasn't therapeutic, it just made me better, okay? I call that a cure. So I want to get these things done. So we have to get them done. We have to get them approved. And I want to get them to the hospitals where people are feeling badly. It's much more important to me than the vaccine. But on the vaccines, we have many companies that are in final stages for the vaccines. Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, all great companies, but many of them. And we're going to have a great vaccine very, very shortly. I think we should have it before the election, but frankly, the politics gets involved, and that's okay. They want to play their games. It's going to be right after the election. But we did it, nobody else. Nobody else would have been able to do it. The FDA has acted as quickly as they've ever acted in history. There's never been a time, and no president's ever pushed them like I pushed them either, to be honest with you. But the FDA is approving things in a matter of weeks that used to take a matter of years. So we have these drugs, Eli Lilly and the others that are so good, but they are, in my opinion, remember this, they're going to say that they're therapeutic, and I guess they are therapeutic. Some people don't know how to define therapeutic. I view it different. It's a cure. For me, I walked in, I didn't feel good. A short 24 hours later, I was feeling great. I wanted to get out of the hospital. And that's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to be given the same treatment as your president, because I feel great. I feel like perfect. So I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it. This was a blessing in disguise. I caught it. I heard about this drug. I said, let me take it. It was my suggestion. I said, let me take it. And it was incredible the way it worked, incredible. And I think if I didn't catch it, we'd be looking at that like a number of other drugs. But it really did a fantastic job. I want to get for you what I got, and I'm going to make it free. You're not going to pay for it. It wasn't your fault that this happened. It was China's fault. And China's going to pay a big price, what they've done to this country. China's going to pay a big price, what they've done to the world. This was China's fault. And just remember that. So we're going to get you the drug. It's going to be free. We're going to get it into the hospitals as soon as you can, as soon as we can. And you'll see some amazing things happen because we have our military is doing the distribution. It's called logistics. And they deliver hundreds of thousands of troops in a matter of days. This is easy stuff for them. Our general's all ready. We're waiting for the emergency use authorization. And the drug companies have just made a lot of it. So hopefully this is going to be not just a therapeutic, it's going to be much more than a therapeutic. You're going to get better, you're going to get better fast, just like I did. So again, a blessing in disguise. Good luck.
And I think it's super important that we call out that the president is making huge strides towards getting us an actual therapeutic that we can take if we get it. And he's telling us it's going to be for free. I think it's incredible. And again, he's gone through this. He walked through it in front of us. For people that think he didn't actually get it, go back to the place where they've made fun of him walking up the White House stairs that first night he got back and how winded he was at first when he got there. That I think had to do with the virus and just getting through it and getting over it. Every day is a better day and a step in the right direction for this guy. So again, I thought it was a very important message. And also something, and we're going to see some more of this throughout these discussions, I think we're going to get some hints as to some of the attacks against the deep state that have actually happened and how they've been hidden behind other things, if you will. And that'll make more sense in a second. But again, he's talking about combat tactics, Mr. Ryan. I'm not sure if this is a reference back to Hunt for Red October, Jack Ryan, or if it has to do with Paul Ryan. Unfortunately, there's a few of the Ryans floating around. 4825 got another interesting post from Governor Cuomo. The executive order shall remain in effect until November 3rd, 2020. Was this ever about the virus? And so, of course, they're sharing with us the executive order. And he does call out the fact that right here, this executive order shall remain in effect until November 3rd, 2020. The lockdown is always meant to end the day after the election. How did they know that in advance? Doesn't that even seem weird that they would put that in paper beforehand, right? Like that, it's just odd timing. Call it a coincidence. That's all I'm going to call it right now. But yeah, let's just say that's what it is. 4826, Joe 3330, arbitrary. This is really weird, and I mean, I did it, and it tripped me out, and I was like, wow, okay. But anyway, what is 2020, current year, divided by 30330? Symbolism will be their downfall. So, 2020 divided by 30330. That equals 0.066600 and some other numbers. Oddly, the 666 is separated by 2 zeros, which is kind of from a numerological standpoint is kind of interesting just in and of itself. It's like placeholders kind of. So, coincidence? Again, I don't know. That's certainly interesting, isn't it? Just the way the numbers work out. And maybe it wasn't done intentionally. Maybe that's just how symbolism works when you're working for the evil one. 4827. Really cool YouTube song. I can't play it because it's YouTube, and they bring up a very good point. Can music be healing? Absolutely. Absolutely. And music can inspire chills and all sorts of awesome feelings and energetics and harmonics and a lot of really cool stuff. This particular song, Two Steps from Hell, Freedom Fighters, and just very cool, very powerful song. So I'll put the link below. Definitely worth it. I want this guy to get his plays, right? He's up at over 2 million plays right now. So definitely want you to check it out. It's an amazing song, and I think you'll probably feel something kind of cool with it when you listen as well. 4828. Do you remember when the media had the wall-to-wall coverage regarding North Korea, right? That live fear coverage, how they're going to launch a missile any day. They've got a missile that can hit us. They're going to shoot it towards Hawaii, and they're going to do this. They've got the technology. Scare, 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 scare. Do you remember when Hawaii accidentally sounded the incoming missile alarm? They had an alarm go off, and they were really loud sirens that there was going to be an incoming missile. And it was like legit at first. And then they came out a little bit later, like within minutes, a number of minutes, and said it was a glitch, right? Said, oh, no, that was a glitch. That wasn't legitimate. So what actually happened? Why did our early warning actually kick off? Now, it's kind of interesting how that all played out. So North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat to us anymore, which is kind of interesting. And you got to wonder why. Now, one thing that's interesting, this is one of those things where I think we're getting a hint as to something that happened, and the news played it up as something, but the reality of it was another. Just like Beirut, honestly. All the stuff that's been happening in Beirut, in my opinion, is very much like this. But I don't know if you remember the story of the mountain collapse. But a research by Chinese geologists suggests that the mountain above North Korea's main nuclear test site has likely collapsed. The collapse has likely rendered the site unsafe for further testing, specifically calling it out for testing. To me, it seems like a lot of effort to test a nuclear weapon inside of a mountain than it would necessarily to build a lab inside of a mountain. So one's got to kind of wonder if the deep state had a neat little weapons manufacturing facility within this mountain that collapsed. And I kind of think that's what we're getting here. Mountain collapse? Yeah, I think that's the problem. So China is seeking North Korea commitment to fire another long-range, they're calling it short, but a long-range ballistic missile before the election. Now, of course, they want to do that because they want to make Trump look weak. They want to make it look like Kim Jong-un and Trump are not friends. They want to make it look like all these things that they've been saying are true and that Trump is an absolute and total failure. And they know that something like this happening would actually be very powerful to the American people. So when you know the deep state's playbook, what do? Well, Trump and Kim Jong-un have been writing little love letters to each other for quite a while. And literally these things are hand-delivered. Now, they're not really love letters, but they hand-deliver these things. There's no way that the electronics and satellites and all these crazy things can intercept a handwritten old school technology. And that's what they're using. And it's been working very, very well. So just understand, things are happening. And the news is not reporting it. And they're not going to report it. That's kind of how this stuff plays out. So the thing that they keep bringing up, and Post 4829 is a great example. And if you remember correctly, and they say it at the very bottom, if you remember, this was kind of the picture that we originally saw. This is the one that I think was taken by fishing boats or something like that were off the coast. And they said, it's a helicopter with a searchlight. That's what they told us. You know, swamp gas reflecting Venus, and that's what that UFO was. So in this case, this particular thing was just a helicopter really high up, shining a really bright light. But when you zoom in on it, it sure doesn't look like a helicopter, does it? Kind of looks like a pin light, right? Like someone's maybe got a pin light up there, but then what would a pin light be if it's not a rocket, obviously? So very much looks like a rocket. So, of course, they told us that was a helicopter. And it's interesting that Q's pointing that out. I think it's a matter about waking the people up and getting them to start to realize, oh, I see. So that is some of what is going on. Another thing, and this is, again, just speculation. I'm not saying this happened. I'm not saying for sure. But one thing that's really weird is kind of how McCain sort of got sick and then sort of passed away. And then there was even a case where his daughter was on some news thing or on a radio program or whatever, and she made the weird comment of saying, what, kill him again? Like, she knew that something happened to her father, and it wasn't just maybe natural causes. Again, the news is going to portray it as one thing. The way things actually happen in reality can very well be different. So there's some question as to whether or not McCain died from natural causes or something else. But you've got to wonder, what is treason worth? And if it's truly treason and you can prove it, it's pretty bad. So how much was McCain or the McCain Institute, or via the McCain Institute, how much were they paid to peddle this Steele dossier? Because they did. They played a role in it. McCain was the big Republican to help push this. This is how it got a lot more steam, because otherwise it was something that they kind of knew was tied to Hillary. And the only way to give it credit was to have someone on the other side of the aisle basically say, no, I think we should go forward with this. And we'll find there's a couple other traitors that maybe played a part too. And these little coincidental experiences that we see in the news come and play as well. So again, what is the going rate for a United States senator to knowingly push false, unverified intel to the FBI, or to essentially not just lend credibility, but give credibility to a bogus story. 4831, similar situation with Mr. Paul Ryan. Why did Paul Ryan refuse or block all subpoena requests by the Republican committee chairs? Paul Ryan used to be in charge. He used to be basically be Nancy Pelosi until the 2018 election, and that changed everything. So what is the going rate for the Speaker of the House to obstruct congressional investigations for the purpose of delaying and or eliminating its findings? Again, protect. They've been trying to protect the alphabet agencies. They've been trying to protect Hillary and all her cronies. They've been trying to protect all the swamp activities that they have been doing. The truth cannot come out in their minds, or else they are done. And it's true. If people truly find out factually what actually was happening, not just as conspiracy towards Trump. No, it's way deeper than that. If the truth can finally come out, it's done for a lot of these political figures. It's done for some of the people in these alphabet agencies. And finally, we have a chance to sort of heal and fix all of the things that have been taken advantage of over the past number of years. So again, how much does it cost to get the Speaker of the House? Now, Pelosi is obviously in the same situation. She is bought and paid for by the same people. You don't become Speaker of the House unless you're deep state, at least currently. And I think that's going to change, hopefully, after this coming election and a number of things that need to follow after that. But why did Paul Ryan initially refuse to be the Speaker? He didn't want to be. He didn't want to be the Speaker. Why? Because he came in and he knew what was going to be going on. In fact, it was, 2015 when he became Speaker. I think I've got some information here for it. Yes. October 29th, 2015, he was elected at age 45, the youngest Speaker. He didn't want to do it. Now, what is the timing of this? Right? This was, not too long before the election. It was a year before, but he didn't want to be a part of what was coming. He knew that this collapse, this taking over was going to happen, and he didn't want to be a part of it. There was already a lot of this stuff going on with Hillary. He was well aware of the deep state activities and how they were taking advantage and sort of infiltrating, and the insurgency was occurring, and all this Antifa stuff was laid. Like, he was well in the know. In fact, one of the things that he was in charge of was the, it's called? He was part of the Ways and Means Committee. He was chairman of that. And it's interesting is, first off, when you're in the Ways and Means Committee, you're not allowed to serve on other committees unless the committee itself votes and says, yeah, it's okay. So again, deep state can make rules, but then the deep state just votes around the rules. So what's the point? It's kind of like stacking the courts, which is what they're going to do if they win this election. If they get Biden in office, it's done. It's done for us. It will be done in a matter of short period of time. It'll probably make Trump's efforts look even small in comparison how quickly they will make things work. But what is the Ways and Means Committee in charge of? Taxation. They're in charge of Social Security, unemployment insurance, Medicare, enforcement of child support laws, temporary assistance for needy families, foster care, and adoption programs. Can you say children? Who is he in charge of? Was he in charge of all this stuff? What's this Ways and Means Committee doing? Think about the power. First off, this committee's been in effect since like 1896 or some crazy thing. Been around a while. Been around a long while. So a lot of crazy stuff is seeming to come up around Paul Ryan. So he initially did not want to be the Speaker because he knew what was coming, probably. Again, speculation, putting words in his mouth for sure. But when you look at things and then you look at how things played out, well, it makes you wonder. And of course, why did Paul Ryan retire at such a young age? Retired at 50. 50 years old in politics, you're still a young buck. So at 50 years old, he retires. Why? Because he knew what was coming. He knew what was coming, and he retired right in the beginning of 2018 is when he got out of there. So a lot of questions have come around Paul Ryan. Siding with the deep state is one thing. It's in this roll call article. But Matt Gaetz was talking about how he was basically firing shots across Paul Ryan's bow Wednesday, claiming Ryan was siding with the deep state, the FBI, and the Justice Department over congressional Republicans trying to conduct oversight on those agencies. He was blocking their attempts. He was basically siding with Trey Gowdy, who I've got way less respect for, and by the way, is a paid part of Fox. Again, deep state. Just for all of you that think Fox News isn't deep state, it is. All those media companies are. Trey Gowdy's one of their paid-for people, And Trey Gowdy was the one that actually looked at the FBI's original request of spying on Trump and said that what he felt that it was legitimate, like they had a legitimate reason to start that inquiry. And then oddly, Trey retires. Interesting, right? All these people are retiring. Why? Because they're part of the deep state. So they're going to get into the public political part and try to help shape the next steps, which is the election. And they're trying to play their part to sow division, to create questions and doubt, and to basically call Trump a liar through every single step of the way. When it seems in most cases, with the exception maybe of some exaggerations for sure, but it seems in most cases when Trump says something that everyone suddenly calls a lie, it's usually like shortly thereafter, something comes up, something is released, something's declassed, and all of a sudden there's the evidence that what he said, Trump, was true. So we've got Trey Gowdy that's in the deep hole here. We've got Paul Ryan in the deep hole. And this guy, wow, looks like he's lost some weight. It's kind of good, I guess, right? But yeah, Ryan backs Gowdy in the blow to President Trump's Spygate claims. So again, he said, yeah, I agree with Trey Gowdy that the FBI acted properly when it pursued information from an informant in President Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign about potential Russian interference in the election, further undercutting Trump's so-called Spygate theory. Now, what do we know today? All the stuff that was recently declassed, all the stuff that, right? All this non-redacted stuff that's coming out. What do we now know? Well, we now know for sure that all of this, all four of the requests to spy on Trump were bogus. They were all based off the Steele dossier that McCain helped push through, that Hillary paid for. All of this stuff stinks to high heaven. And we now know, Paul Ryan, Trey Gowdy, that these guys are deep state slimy scumbags. Now he, by the way, just to add insult to injury, also ran with Mitt Romney as his vice president candidate for when Mitt was running against Obama. Now again, Mitt, definitely deep state slime ball. And for sure, I mean, no question about it, he was the one that actually agreed to impeach Trump on one of those cases, right? And the other one he voted no on. So Mitt Romney's a piece of crap, for sure. And, you know, I hope his community will understand that he needs to be removed. And I hope his community is starting to wake up as to the danger. But again, it's a very tight-knit community that Mitt is a part of. So who knows? We'll see how it plays out. But a lot of people on the Republican side, I guess, really, well, actually, the deep state wrote a bunch of bad articles about this guy, Paul Ryan, and saying that when his country needed him, Paul Ryan didn't answer. They frequently talk about how he was supposed to be the moral stopper for Trump. He was supposed to keep Trump from doing all these horrible things. That was his job as the Speaker of the House, was to control Trump. And he didn't. And it's funny how they state it that way as controlling Trump, because if you think about it, you don't control the President of the United States. The President of the United States does what the President of the United States does, and you as the Speaker of the House essentially control the House. That's it. That's all you control. You don't control the President. But the deep state, they see it differently. They see it like a leash, don't they? And that's what Nancy Pelosi's been trying to do all along, which I guess that's why Trump's had to do so many executive orders. If you think about the way this has played out, those powers for him to grant executive orders were given to him by previous administrations, previous Congresses, and Obama had taken advantage of these same executive orders on numerous occasions. And to my understanding, the number of executive orders, like Trump's not even close to topping what George Bush did or Obama, like both of those guys. And anyway, I'll get off on a separate tangent. By the way, this is interesting in and of itself, and I'm not 100% sure how I'm supposed to feel about this, but it is funny is that one of the last things Paul Ryan did before he left is he forced out the House chaplain, Reverend Patrick Conroy. Conroy had served as the chaplain since 2011, but offered his resignation last week at Ryan's urging. No one's really been able to get any sort of answer as to why this happened. Nancy Pelosi said she disagreed with it, but outside of that, we don't know. But what is interesting is that this guy is actually a Catholic, and he's a Jesuit Catholic, which is kind of interesting too, because the Jesuits are been called up in a lot of different places. But again, a lot of interesting stuff. But he kicked out the chaplain before he left, Paul Ryan. So whatever the case was, he didn't like him either. And I'm not sure if he was good or bad. I don't know. I don't know how chaplains work. I don't know. I don't think they make laws. They just start with a prayer. I think that's pretty groovy. So I don't know. I don't know if they replaced him with someone else. I don't know. Again, just Paul Ryan just doing his thing, I guess, right? 4832, shadow president, shadow government, information warfare, irregular warfare, color revolution, insurgency. These are the things that Trump has been fighting. These are the things that have been in place. A lot of people suspect that everywhere Trump went, Obama followed shortly thereafter, so they believe there's been this shadow president the whole time. Whole shadow government, obviously, they got Pelosi and we got all this deep state stuff going on, and we've got backroom doors and deals that are trying to pass laws that don't benefit we the people. Trump's tried to put a stop to that. The information warfare, Trump's the liar, Trump's the liar, Trump's the liar, while they tell lies, countless lies everywhere. Lies that are now coming out because they're declassing stuff. Lies that are showing all over the place, yet they still point the fingers at Trump and say, he's a liar. The number of lies Trump tells, exaggerations again, are different in my opinion. Yeah, he exaggerates a lot. Yeah, he talks about a positive attitude. We're going to get a cure to this. This thing's going to be gone before Easter or whatever. As a leader, that's what you do. I've been on teams that had impossible deadlines, and you need a leader that does something like that and basically says, we can do this, we can buck up and roll up our sleeves. They'll join in sometimes. They'll bring in food and cater. They'll do all sorts of things to try to make it possible. The only way you accomplish anything, and Michael Jordan was a great example of this, is perseverance, hard work, a can-do attitude, and you always focus on where you're going. You never, ever question whether or not you think you can get there. That is what greatness does. If you've ever created anything great in your life, you were probably using those same principles. And maybe your friend said, nah, you can't do it. No one will ever hire you as a musician, or you'll never make it as a musician, or you'll never be a singer, or you'll never make it in radio, which is what I heard, right? Those things, if you listen to them, you're right, you'll never get there. But people like me say, I don't care what you think, watch me. And I made it in radio. I got a pretty decent job. I was overnight, 100,000 watt classic rock radio station. It was pretty awesome. Did it. Money sucked, but whatever. Made it, been there, done that. It was good times. It's what you have to do to succeed. So he has been fighting everything. In irregular warfare, like the stuff they're doing is, the tactics are just brutal. And the way the media is involved, the way just all the stuff, it's just weird. Of course, the color revolution, now we've got racism, and everyone thinks there's racism. And they think it's within our institutions and all this, right? Like this huge, interesting revolution that's happening right now. And then obviously the insurgency, which I think Antifa and all those things call into play. So a lot has been going on. A lot is happening around us. Trump is releasing and declassing and basically helping wake us up as quickly as we can handle. But ultimately, they've got their own internal polls, and they're trying to see what we can take. And I think they're giving it to us as fast as we can take it. So if there's any way to try to improve how quickly this happens, it's by helping spread this information, by talking about this information, by essentially learning as much as you can, not just looking at these posts and saying, Q knows everything. No. Question it, look at it, research it, dig into some of these articles, look into it a little. Kind of like I did with Paul Ryan. Man, I pulled up a whole bunch of different stuff on Paul Ryan. I was like, kind of got a much larger understanding of Paul Ryan because I haven't been following all these individual people for the past 10 years. Get out of here. I have a life, right? So again, these are the things we need to keep in mind. We have to make sure we educate ourselves. We have to make sure we take care of those close to us, and we certainly have to make sure we defend this Constitution, we defend this country, we defend the freedoms that we believe in with all of our hearts and souls. This is the calling for all of us. Where we go one, we go all. It's On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.